we talk about the developing population centers around the world. Now, when I look at this, I was somewhat amazed, and walk with me. These are guaranteed statistics, if any statistics are ever guaranteed. These are legitimate source numbers. If you look at India, 1.2 billion people. China, 1.3 billion. Look at Africa, 1.0 billion. Look at the Arab world, the 22 Arab League countries, 358 million. Another developing world, which is probably beyond your reach now, and that's Latin America, 583 million. Now that gives us a number of $4.5 billion. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. That's half the population of the world. That's your marketplace, the developing countries of the world. Now pause for a second. How much penetration does QNet have in each of these market areas? Not enough. When I talked to Donna about this, Donna Empson said, Professor King, we have small market shares in most of the developing countries. Let's see the next slide. Let's look at this number differently. Let's say of those 4 billion people, how many of those people are in fact qualified financially to deal in the network marketing arena? My students, when I show them, you made the previous slide back. When I look at these numbers and I talk to my students about this very slide, they say, but professor, those are all poor people. To which I say, yes, but not all of those people are poor. Do we agree? The important thing is organize to do business with those people as they are. It's imperative we understand and deal with them from our perspective, given their level of economic power. What is it? Let's see the next slide now. Next slide. Looking at this, I think the numbers become clear. What did I do? The United Nations has estimated that in the developing world, roughly 20 to 30% of the developing country population is middle or upper class, 20 to 30%. That's a number. Now, if you use simple arithmetic, 20% of 4 billion people is, in fact, use the number that you see there, 900 million up to 1.4 billion marketing prospects for QNet. Does that make sense? Now, my central theme is that as we look at this, focus your attention where you have the power, where the growth exists. My central message is the opportunity is in the developing sectors of the world, and you're looking at the size we can forecast to be 1.4 billion people. That's your marketplace. That's where you should focus your effort, and all of you can qualify for being outstanding network marketing performers focusing on that market. Do you agree? Looking at it one more point of perspective, if you look at those numbers, they approximate the entire population of both India or China. Because India and China are in 1.3, 1.4 billion, and we're looking in that range. We're talking about 1.4 billion prospects for you in QNet in the same marketplaces. That's incredible. If you look at the United States by comparison, though we have a higher middle class, roughly 50 to 60%, we have a population of 300 million. So 50 to 60% of 300 million is only 150 million. 150 million compared to 1.4 billion? I'm coming to Asia. Let's see the next slide. Now this again looks at the proposition from where is the market And where are you? And Donna gave me these numbers on the far right, QNet sales by region. 53% of QNet sales are in fact in Asia, dropping down to roughly 37% of yours in the Middle East, dropping down further. You have no properties in obviously the United States and Canada, and 10% in Europe. Your marketplace is 80% plus 90% in the markets that are developing. That's wonderful. She further said that if you look at the 10 top billion-dollar markets, you have very small to no presence at all. So the market is open for you. It's just a question of going to get it. So let's go get it. Next slide. This is a point I want to emphasize. Again, comparing as one market segment with other economic dimensions. Looking at the Arab world, we're talking about the Arab world per capita GDP, about 5,000 US dollars. Their economy, $1.99 trillion. Is that powerful? That's powerful. The Arab world is consuming. It's not under-consuming. In fact, their consumption is in the 49% range. Not all Arabs are Muslims. There are different cultures in the Arab world, which you know better than I. The point is that all of those cultures have a need for network marketing products, network marketing processes, and you can work with them using the cultural mores, the cultural values, the cultural systems of those countries. I think the Arab world is a dramatic, undeveloped marketplace for QNet. Next slide, please. And here we see the story again. If we look at the Arab world, a large population of the Arab world is under 25 years old or lower. The end result is not like similar to the other developing countries in Asia. We're talking about substantial growth in the young people. The young people represent a capacity, an opportunity for growth and development that can't be readily matched anywhere else in the world. This is a point to emphasize. The opportunity is there. The question is, how do you go about getting it? In the United States, we have a population we call the new millennials. These are people between 18 and 30 years of age. They're our hardest market to reach. They're needful. They need work. They're interested in investing. They're interested in trying new adventures. They're leading the edge in home-based business development because they simply can't find employment. So the end result is applying that same model into the developing Arab world is a guaranteed winner if you use the right technologies and the right procedures. The marketplace is ready for development. In the United States, I am in charge of building one university program aimed at teaching the new millennials, these young people, 18 to 30, how to do home-based business activity to give them a new entrepreneurial direction. We can do the same thing in the developing countries of Asia, Africa, and the Arab world. This must be focused. You must do it quickly. And the most important factor, these young people need income. More and more early marriages demand in the Arab world that they have enough economic power to support the marriage. So the end product is that market is rich, open, and viable. Next slide. Now I come to the richness of the presentation. I would like to emphasize two or three things. That I do not come to QNet as a new customer. I do not come to QNet naive about QNet. As many of you know, I had the opportunity working with Aaron George, he probably announced that, with his group, the Titans, in 2005. We did an outstanding program using a university model in Dubai. Outstanding success, several hundred people. We had hoped to go on to Africa and across the Middle East, but because of economic conditions and because of politics, that didn't develop. But I never lost touch with QNet. I never lost touch with Aaron. So when I went to see him in reviewing for this presentation today, I visited in his home, and he visited mine, met with his wife and family. The end result, we talked about the 2005 event. And I asked him, I said, Aaron, you've had some outstanding leaders. Are they still with you? Because we know that people dropping out represents a great problem for network marketing. He said, Dr. King, he said, almost all of those leaders are with me, and they've grown to success. As a matter of I was proud. Over the past 3 days, I've met student after student after student from that seminar series in Dubai who come up to me and say, Professor, I'm one of your students, shakes my hand and says, I have been successful. And I am awarded by God from those people because they did in fact follow the message, take the right practices under Aaron's leadership. Arun George has just been an outstanding leader for thousands of people, and now that has paid off. Now let's go to the next slide. The next slide is very simple, and that is that I think you have an outstanding path, an outstanding record. I emphasize the positive detail. Number one, we calculated your growth rate at being 15 to 20% over the last year. Now, as we talked about the impediments, the problems you faced, in one of your major markets in Africa, you faced the Arab Spring. And the Arab Spring brought disaster in some network marketing groups. The end result was that the market was not as strong in Africa as in the past. So we know that you had 10, 15 to 20% growth based on the bad times that prevailed in Africa. So now let's turn back and let's ask the question, what can we expect in the future? I think there's no reason to think you can't match a 20 to 25% growth rate over the next 5 years. That's important information. What does that mean for all of you? It means all of you have to develop your organizations, and you have to develop your skills, and you have to develop your educational platforms. You have some of the best education in the country in your groups. Looking at across the world, enormous opportunity. So my theme is that the opportunity is there, you're launched. Now let's see the next slide. This is something I want to live with you, leave with you, live with you, and watch grow. Point being, in 1990, I became involved in the network marketing industry. I started studying it in great detail. This is something I wrote for Success Magazine back in that period called The Curve of Prosperity. And I talk about the 4 waves of growth from early formulation, concentration, momentum, and stability. Now, the fact is that all network marketing companies go through this, but many of them never get past where you are now. QNet is on the verge of going into momentum, and then it's takeoff time. Sorry? Thank you. Do we understand this curve? This says that you start in the beginning, you grow slowly, and then you hit a point where more and more people are accepting, joining, in fact, becoming leaders and moving forward. That's exactly what you're seeing here. The point being, you are entering momentum, and when you enter momentum, you start doubling, tripling, quadrupling sales and leadership until you hit stability. For companies that do a good job in managing momentum, they never get to stability. They just keep adding products, adding leaders, building further, expanding to new markets. It's a continuous growth process based on strong corporate leadership, strong field leadership. You have all the components, in my opinion, to keep this formulation process going into momentum, into stability, never. We'll just keep momentum going indefinitely. Okay. Next slide. Now, as I sing praises about what you could do, let's turn to the organization and look and see what you have done. First, you are a member of a conglomerate. QI, the conglomerate company, has components like you and others. The important thing is you have a strong corporate leadership that you heard from last evening. You have a long record of success after 14 years, so that means you're in a great position for future growth. Something to build on. You have experience in e-commerce. You have experience in developing leisure products. You have a whole host of product extensions that you're extending ongoing, and you've just entered the market for reproducible, consumed products that'll take you to the next level. Outstanding growth curve. And the end result is, would you like resorts too? And further expansion still further? I'm just very impressed with what I see in this company. Now let's go to the next slide. In terms of this particular topic, I want to say two things. That I have worked with many network marketing companies around the world. The first thing I was introduced to with QNet back in Aaron George's initial orientation to me in 2005 was a strong ethical behavior and philosophy and outlook of the leaders. And I didn't understand that until I watched them grow over time. These 4 points are so important to your people. And I see it, I've been seeing it for 3 days. I've been watching all of you. The notion of service, all of these young, successful people doing yeoman service, doing waiting tables, pushing carts, doing all the heavy-duty work, and yet they're successful entrepreneurs. When I talked to one today, and I said, why do you do this? It's not necessary. You're already successful. His comment was, it's to give back. We have been very successful. We believe it. I work with many companies, many very honorable and ethical organizations. I have never seen the kind of leadership commitment that I've seen here in these 3 days. The next point, the idea of teamwork. You have these teams, your V partners, building these fantastic organizations. I don't know of any company in the country, none in the world, that have this kind of experience and expertise and sophistication and enthusiasm that you have in the teamwork side. Integrity, conduct ourselves with utmost integrity. That's a theme that everyone here has shared with me whenever I had time to talk, and I respect that you are doing precisely that. Last point, in terms of results orientation, something Arun shared with me in 2005. He said, Professor King, I asked him, I said, how are you going to measure results from our success, our training? Professor King, we'll measure results based on results. Our people will go do it. They will go do it and be successful. And I thought, I've heard that before. In fact, his people did go do it, and they're in training today in service. So I think it's proven that you are results-oriented. Your leadership is driving that. I congratulate you. Next slide. This is a burning theme I have. As I watched your rhythm process at work, watching in-service practice, I thought to myself, This is a mandate. This is a mantra. This is a theme that prevails this whole organization. And the other evening, when we were watching the racing down to get the best seats in the meeting over the past 3 days, the people who got the front row seats next time didn't race. They gave the other people an opportunity to have their turn. And I thought to myself, where have I ever seen that before? The killers usually kill and continue to kill. But here we're sharing with one another. Again, I congratulate you. I congratulate you. I congratulate you. Next slide. As I look at your accomplishments, I'm merely reading off the pages now. You have this information better than I. I'm simply saying, look at the achievements you've in fact put together. You have a whole distribution system of corporate management, of V partners, V associates. You have agents doing other things in the markets, and you have an expansion mentality that says you are going to go forward in the developing countries. I think your organization is built to do it. I think you can do it. I wish you Godspeed in getting it done. Next slide. Next slide. If you look at the issue I often evaluate companies around, what are they doing in terms of product development? If you don't keep your products alive, you're going to fall. You're simply going to run out of sales opportunity. And I looked at what you've been doing, and your leadership told me that these were your 4 criteria: innovation, exclusivity, quality, and the fit with the QNet philosophy, and fitting your markets. The end product is, I think those criteria hang well. And yesterday, we walked through the display of all your products, and I was amazed at the breadth of your product development. Let's see the next slide. Look at this. You're covering the consumer market very effectively, all the way from energy to fashions to home care, education, weight management, personal care, luxury, nutrition, holiday. And again, I come back to the fact that you're now getting repeat purchase products into the market. You're doing a job there that will grow over time, will guarantee you duplicate purchasing, recurred buying, and give you greater strength for ongoing sales. So I think you're in the right place, in the right direction. I give you full credit. Next slide. I come back to this story. Next slide. Next, roll back, I'm sorry. We duplicated. Roll back one more. This program here, I want to reemphasize this recurring repetition of consumable items. I want to emphasize that's your next growth platform. I want to emphasize how important that is. The more of that kind of reproducible sales and service, the better. The theme is that this can be done now very effectively. Now let's go to the next slide. Your distribution system's in place. There's no question about getting it done. Now I'm going to pause for a second. In my summary conclusion, and I was given roughly 40 minutes, in my summary conclusion, I want to emphasize one thing, that education is the most powerful single platform for building a network marketing company. Education of its leadership, education of its customers, and maintaining an ongoing forward-thinking management style. You have all of those things in place. But through Networking University, we're going to be building a stronger educational platform over the next 6 months to a year. So I think the educational component, which I, of course, promote, I'm an absolute educator at heart, I promote that. I think you're going to be able to do it. I think we're going to have a platform to give you more and more direction, and the company is committed to it. So just look for the announcements to come. Networking University is going to offer you a certification program so all of your leaders can become powerful and be ever more competent in training your downline. The best is yet to come. So in summary, I want to make the point that this is one of the finest network marketing companies I've ever worked with because you have components that have come together. You have an outstanding management team that has in fact built a core philosophy around your values, your systems, and your beliefs. That core model for operational behavior is good. Secondly, you've built an infrastructure of company. You've built structure, corporate, major leaders, agents, a distribution system that works. You have a product development program that's ever expanding, going into consumable products. And more importantly, now you're building an educational program that will give you the foundation for future growth. As I close my presentation, I simply say, you're a company that has enormous potential. But before I close totally, I want to say something else. I've continued to talk about I all through my presentation. I want to emphasize several points. Number one, I am not I am we. I would like to recognize my wife, the operations officer of our corporation, of our training system, of our seminar program, Sandra King. Would you please stand? I could not be here if she weren't here. Now, item two. I want to recognize that I would not be here without the support of Donna Imson and without the support of Dr. Injay. I would not be here without the support of all of you who supported me during this hour. And to all of those in-service people, who did the furniture moving, did the water delivery, and helped me get here, and will ultimately get me off this stage. I very much appreciate their help, and I'm going to be here a while. So the important thing is I'll be here next time, and I won't need a chair. With that,